Hi, welcome all to this yet another interesting session. 3D Graphy News is the platform, and it's always been a pleasure to connect with experts and leaders in science and technology, and also members and respondents actively working in 3D technology, in 3D machines and 3D software, 3D scanning solutions, and also simulation and visualization, AR and VR. So, for many of them who probably would have got to connect with us first time, 3D Graphy is a platform. We've been in this space of promoting 3D technology for the last 8 years. And 3D Graphy News is an initiative very recently that we've also been able to formulate, because it was also the end users' expectations to have an information source, because events and conferences is very good, but it's also important for us to be communicated on an ongoing basis. So the traction is good. So there's more learning, and also there is more development in terms of understanding what's happening next, so that everybody can learn, understand, and grow with the technology. So 3D Graphy News is the platform. We have been able to formulate this with both technology companies coming and sharing their insights on the subject. At the same time, also doctors, surgeons, aeronautical engineers, also people from tooling coming with their perspective in terms of what is that they're expecting from this technology. So it is actually helping us to build, we are actually working as a catalyst in terms of building up, building the space in terms of seeing that the gap has been filled. Thank you so much once again, the audience. And also let me introduce you to our guest speaker today, Dr. Kerim, who is a business development head with Simpleware Synopsys, a software company dealing in 3D modeling, and also in terms of ensuring that how the software can be useful in terms of for doctors and surgeons, and also biomedical engineers to formulate and dissect the right course in terms of the final products, both for prototyping and also for final implants. So, hi, doctor. Very good afternoon. Good evening here, and also good morning back in the US. So it's nice to connect, doctor. And let me quickly ask you, doctor, how it all started. First, on your personal ground, in terms of where it all started, and also as a company, in terms of how Synopsys has been able to gain traction in the medical field, very specifically, or even the other industries, if it has to be very specific from where your expertise is coming from.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. Just a little bit about myself. So I'm Kerim Genc, and I am currently based just outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. And what my background is, I did my PhD in biomedical engineering. My main focus was bone fracture mechanics, so orthopedic biomechanics. That was my main focus during my studies, and that led me to Simpleware, using Simpleware. So that was using image-based techniques to generate finite element models, simulate bone fracture. Specifically, it was looking at bone loss due to spaceflight, because astronauts lose a lot of bone, and examining that. So I started working for Simpleware it's been about 10 years now. So they were a small startup company out of the southwest of the UK, out of Exeter, and started the office in the US, and have been growing it since. In 2016, we were acquired by Synopsys. So Synopsys, for those of you who don't know, is a pretty major player in the semiconductor and chip design process and market. So it's anything to do with the design of chips, design of security, software, anything around that. So it's purely a software company that's been in Silicon Valley for about 35 years now, which is pretty ancient by Silicon Valley standards. And so they acquired Simpleware because of their need to because Simpleware, what we do is we convert 3D images into models. So things like MRI, CT scans. I'm sure a lot of your viewers here are very familiar with that area of taking CT or MRI scans of patients and converting them into surface models in the 3D CAD or design space. So Simpleware is very good at that, and handling very complex geometries, very strong algorithms, and technical underpinnings for that. So that's why Synopsys acquired us, because in the chip space, things are going down to 4-3 nanometer scales, quantum computing. So the geometries in that are pretty pretty nasty. So that's kind of just the technology reason why they acquired us. A lot of people were kind of surprised about it, but really what it's enabled us to do is be a small company within a larger one. And Synopsys has really given us the freedom and the resources to grow because they've had the technology and now they want us to continue to grow and expand. And so that's been really good for us. So my role hasn't changed too much other than continuing to grow Simpleware. So currently I manage business development strategy, partnerships, things like that. I manage the sales team globally, and our group is based out of the UK still. So really now where it comes to your question about where we fit within this area of 3D printing and this industry, our main focus now, we started off with being more on the simulation side of things, converting images to models and running simulations, say on traumatic brain injury and modeling fluid flow in arteries and things like that. So that's really strong, our strong capabilities, but it's very niche. So one thing we have been able to do, and now being part of Synopsys, is leverage a lot of the AI technologies to automate the whole segmentation process. So the process of going from an image to a model, there's a process called segmentation. So for those of you who are in this area, you know it and do not like it. Segmentation can be very manual and time consuming. So what we've been able to do is leverage the resources that Synopsys affords us to develop these tools, deploy them within customers to fully automate, making the segmentation process a single-click solution. The one customer or success story we like to talk about, we're allowed to talk about, is with Corin, where they started off with an off-the-shelf type workflow that most people do. You buy the software, then you have an engineer trained and do the segmentation. But we were to bring that down about 94% in terms of time by leveraging AI, because they're scaling up. They're doing 500 patients a month. They just passed the 20,000 patient mark. So when you're dealing with that kind of scale, that's where we can bring in AI technologies and fully automate that. And so that's been very popular. We've been deploying that with different customers, different mostly medical device companies who are doing this. There are some academics who are interested in this, but it's mostly geared towards OEMs who are doing patient-specific guides, patient-specific surgical plans, and who really need to scale up. A lot of the conversations I've been having have been with, when I first started, it typically, my background's technical. I love talking to the engineers, but now I'm talking more to the management level, executive level of these companies who, especially now with COVID and employee turnover and being able to keep employees and find employees, that being very difficult. This process of segmentation, typically companies might have a team of engineers who that's all they do is segmentation. And the thing with segmentation is it's not a technically, once you reach a certain point, there's not much more to grow technically, but you need to be doing it all the time. And be trained on it and continually do it. And if you have employees who kind of do it sporadically, it affects their accuracy and their ability to do it. And so onboarding people is a challenge. Hiring, losing, employee turnover is a big challenge in this. So what AI technologies let you do is really capture all that information within the algorithm. Employees are actually happy once we deploy these because they don't have to do segmentation. They can work on much more challenging and more valuable problems, and the segmentation can just be handled. And also it helps with onboarding, and it just captures that knowledge. So there's the technical side where it's faster, more accurate, and things like that. But also on kind of the upper management side of things is that it really helps with capturing knowledge and employee turnover and onboarding and all of those kinds of challenges. So that's a major area for us. Is really trying to eliminate segmentation. So we have fully customized solutions that we do. We can deploy these within customers. And then we come back to, there's these fully automated solutions. And then we have the platform, the Simpleware software where you can import your image data, generate these models. And then in between, we have things like scripting. We have off-the-shelf AI tools. Currently, we have hip, knee, ankle, shoulder, CT, knee MRI, and then heart 3D and 4D CT automated segmentation tools. These are off-the-shelf tools that people can license tomorrow. And so these are based off of data sets we've trained. So we're really offering kind of the spectrum of what people need for this. And this obviously for startups beginning this process, we have the platform, and as they grow, we can grow with them, and we can help them scale. So that's a major push for us. That's a major area. We've had a lot of good successes in this area. And so if any of your customers or any of your viewers have this challenge and want to scale up, I think we have that solution, and we've been deploying it. And then another major area for us is point of care 3D printing. So this is an area that's growing here in the U.S., especially. This is an area that's getting more and more traction. More and more hospitals are doing this, leveraging 3D printing technologies, trying to bring it as close as they can to the hospital to do that. So we have the software platform. We have our own 3D printing toolkit, which is specific for this area to help enable people to do that. We've been partnering with companies like Stratasys, where you can at least in the US currently, you can bundle Simpleware with a Stratasys machine, things like that, to really provide that solution to hospitals and clinical settings for point of care 3D printing. And then the last area is this is kind of longer term. This is in silico medicine. So this is leveraging simulation for things like in silico clinical trials. Instead of companies doing these large, very expensive clinical trials where you have to recruit lots of patients, you can supplement that with simulation-based approaches. And so that's another area. So those are kind of the three areas for us is the automation of segmentation, these patient-specific workflows that need to be deployed from manual all the way to fully automatic, then the point of care 3D printing, and then more this in silico medicine area. So that was a lot of words.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I'm good. So AI is now become an active component of anything that you manufacture. So and also we see that it is actually gaining a lot of traction. Segmentation, if this comes with this tool, I'm sure it will be a game changer. But if I have to look at the next competitive software company, how efficiently we have been able to position ourselves is something that I would want to ask you. That is one. That we've already operational. That is one. And the second thing is also you did mention about head and neck. Are we also into head and neck? Because the software, I'm sure, will be able to offer solutions there. I'm talking about very specific to do with reconstruction and mandible reconstruction and various because face is a part wherein there will be minute detailing to achieve. So are you into that space also, or it is apart from that is orthopedics? Because I know Simpleware has been actively in orthopedics by and large, but are you also into head and neck?
yeah. Okay. So to answer your first question, I mean, I think for us, especially, I have to being part of a company like Synopsys, we are extremely product focused. Our developers, I say Synopsys added rocket fuel to our development process. Every 9 months, we have a new release. Our technical support is extremely high. So I think in terms of the product itself, the technical aspects of it, I think definitely, people like to say best in class, which I think is kind of a bit of a cheesy business term, but it's true. I feel definitely in terms of the product itself, we're extremely strong technically in terms of what we have. And I think in terms of just the deployment of these AI tools, I think our business model and how it's deployed is extremely popular, and we're very flexible, and we can really work with our customers. The thing that we focus on is that it's a long-term relationship. It's not just, hey, here's some software, good luck. We're really focusing on working with our customers, understanding their problems, coming up with solutions. I think that's the biggest thing that's kind of changed with us in the last couple of years is focusing on solutions and working with our customers to figure that out and how that may be. And we call it custom modeler. That's this fully customized AI solution. It doesn't necessarily have to just be AI, but it's nice infrastructure for us to develop tools for customers and deploy them efficiently. So I think those types of things and our continual push to improve on what's out there. Some people might not have heard of us. We're not, Synopsys by nature and Simpleware by nature. We're not a huge marketing engine. we focus a lot on the product, and we kind of let it speak for itself. And I think we might have fewer engagements, but the engagements we have are very, very strong. And in terms of head and neck, yes, that's definitely an area of big interest. There's not much I can say now, but there will be more things coming down the pipeline, because definitely in terms of patient-specific devices, less guides, but actually implantable devices. Obviously, CMF, craniomaxillofacial, that area is growing, is very large. There are companies definitely doing that. A lot more people doing those kinds of patient-specific devices. So we definitely have capabilities, customers who do that. When I say customized segmentation, it's for any anatomy, really. It can be orthopedic, it can be cardiac, it could be any soft tissue. As long as you can segment it and you need to scale, that's something we can help you do.
Fantastic. Any complicated case, actually, Karim, that you might probably want to share, which probably would have been a game changer for you in this segment, in this space?
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately, a lot of
You
it
would say
is due to
all are
confidentiality.
complicated? Yeah. No, I'm just
But,
saying
yeah,
just something which is actually in the domain of for everybody to share.
yeah,
I'm not talking about the IP related things, but otherwise.
sure. I mean, I think um, in terms of just, I think working with our, one thing I've learned definitely is so when we develop these custom solutions, it's AI based, so you need ground truth data. So that's where you have data that's segmented, landmarked, and then you use that to train a tool, and then you can deploy the tool to process data that does that. And the thing I've learned is, we've been working with surprising number of companies that really need a lot of improvement in their segmentation processes and their landmarking processes, just their general modeling, image-based modeling processes in general. And I think because of the expertise we have, I mean, our team of engineers, I'd like, definitely turnover is minimal within our group, and our guys have been around a long time and dealt with a lot of different cases. And the amount of expertise that we're able to offer these customers and help them, they come in with one expectation, and I think we spend a lot of, we spend more time than they anticipated working with them to fix their processes, and really bring it up to spec in terms of what should be done. And these are cases where they have gotten FDA clearance, but just because it's FDA cleared doesn't mean there's not room to improve. And we work a lot hand in hand with customers. So that's why, for me personally, it's been exciting working on these solutions, because you get some really interesting problems. Just say, people doing MRI, for example, of the knee, and they have T1, T2, PD weighted different types of MRI scans. They're dealing with all sorts of data that clinicians send to them and expect a patient-specific solution. So helping these customers really, develop more of a standardized framework feeding into our solution has been really interesting to see.
Also, Dr. Karim, now that we see that there is a fusion of augmented reality as in 3D visualization, also gaining that kind of attraction with 3D printing. So the opportunity is for doctors and surgeons to look at that also as an option, for them to experience it. What we also believe is patient satisfactory index is the need of the hour. So it also means that patient needs to experience how and how they're going to be operated on their body, and I'm sure that's something which has become mandatory in most of the countries, though. In US, it is a part and parcel in terms of patient to know what and how they have been operated, and in terms of the reasoning given very clearly. But here is even in India also, we are seeing that as one area to explore. So with technologies like 3D visualization, when it comes to AR and VR, I think it could also be an experience. So is this stereoscopic? Is the software stereoscopic in terms of the screens, where you also have a 3D visualization experience, an AR and VR experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for us, we're focused on, our process, image to model. We are with people outside of our expertise. We're not trying to cover things. That's one thing. We don't develop verticals and compete with customers. That's just not something we do. So just like we partner with Stratasys, there are other, there's a lot of different startups coming up doing this VR, AR type workflows. We're working with them. We'll be actually coming out with some material on these kinds of things, because from our point of view, it's to either export to a 3D printer or to a VR AR. There is some differences, obviously, in how these models need to be done based on the vendor, but it's relatively similar. And I see, the thing, initially when I saw this area, I thought, oh, this is something that's going to compete with 3D printing. And I think in some cases it might, but really they're just going to work together, I think. And I'm seeing some of the vendors kind of understand that. At first they were very, wary of one another, but now they're realizing, okay, they can work together. We're working with Nicholas Children's Hospital. We've done a lot of stuff with them, especially with Stratasys. They're big Stratasys users, big advocates for them, but they also use VR, AR technologies as well. And, they can supplement each other. And so it's definitely a growing area. And I think, there's challenges with either, with 3D printing, the environmental cost, there's a lot of waste, honestly. Once you give these patients these models, what happens to it? Where does it go? Things like that. Over time, over years, what happens to all this material? Whereas with VR, AR, I guess you don't have that as much, but you might have more upfront. Well, I mean, both have upfront hardware cost. So there's different challenges to both. And it just depends on the situation, how even the culture of the hospital, is a big factor, and how they advocate for these types of
Yeah.
technologies.
So the challenges is not for a software company for sure, because in your case, everything is uh, an imaging kind of a process. Having said that,
Yeah.
when we talk about 3D printing, yes, there are materials like PLA, like which are biodegradable. So I'm sure most of the hospital can look at that as an option, but otherwise, so the choice is still there. I think that's where material science will come into play in terms of coming up with new materials which can be more eco-friendly and also environment-friendly. But yes, 3D visualization and 3D printing is going hand in hand because both are complementing each other. This is something that we've also initiated, Dr. Karim. We ourselves, we have a separate platform called 3D Graphy Labs that we are setting up, where the conscious effort is to engage with key respondents who are docpreneurs wanting to start their own center of excellence. So that's something, and we are into all these technology facets in terms of seeing, how to pick and choose and then probably offer the right package. So I think all these technologies will help each other going forward as it progresses. Now, coming to the crux of it all is education, because in any space of business will happen eventually, but it all starts with education. So, what is your model? So, I mean, you have a license for education also, and commercial license. Both are the licenses that you offer. But any new initiatives that you are working in that area, because there's a huge market there for education, doctor. Because once a professional actually comes out of the college, then probably he or she might want to work in an organization, want to be adequately approved of the fact that he or she has actually used the software, and then want to probably also propagate indirectly in these organizations when they come as on a role which is a responsible role for them to make a call. That is one. Then also to look at entrepreneurship. People are looking at coming into this space and also wanting to start their own businesses, like setting up a 3D service station. Probably want to get into that. So I think everything comes to boils down to the education and making them more literate about this technology, because not all the educational medical colleges or doctors now we see that biomedical engineering colleges have already started. We've already initiated one contact for Simpleware, if you're aware, through your channel partner here in India. But I'm saying the course is now very, very keenly looked at as an option. So what do you think? What are the options that we are looking at in terms of offering the educational
Yeah,
space?
so that's a good question. So I mean, we do have academic and commercial pricing, and we always have, and try and be as flexible as we can with academia, and I think as we grow and as we become even further ingrained within Synopsys, that'll get better and better. I know I personally, coming from an academic background, we we had to get a grant so we could buy the Simpleware license when I was a grad student. So trying to push that and be as flexible as we can with academia. Definitely, we understand. It's essentially a 4-year investment. Because students will start using it when they graduate. That's when you start seeing when they start working at other companies, things like that. In terms of India, definitely, we've worked with several of the IITs. I think IIT Roorkee was just one that we closed recently, and so that's ongoing. And COVID did not help. We had several universities that were ready to go, but then COVID hit, and then unfortunately all these budgets got pulled away. And now they're still recovering from that. Budgets have been reallocated, but unfortunately the money's not quite there yet. Just in general, in terms of the overall kind of government level funding for academic institutions within India, they're still recovering, but they're getting there. So we're looking forward to kind of picking up where we left off. We have our partner channel there, IMS, Integrated Microsystems. So they are our channel partner in India, and they've been doing a lot of work, really promoting Simpleware, doing a lot of presentations and things like that. So we're really happy. They're a great team over there, and I'm hoping once it opens up, I can go visit. And then in terms of, smaller companies, entrepreneurship, there's more and more companies coming up, for example, Judge All Medical, that's a pretty popular one. They have Simpleware, and we've been working with them for quite a while, and others as well. We try and, be flexible and help promote kind of these smaller companies to grow within India. But definitely we see academia and the startup space as places where we need to invest in. And that's continually, trying to balance that with business needs and business challenges on our end, and just try and be as fair as we can within the space.
So, do you believe in democratization, Dr. Karim? Because that's where the scope of building businesses is.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be under, certainly you want to make it easily and more accessible. I think the challenge with software versus something like, say, hardware, where, software is just kind of viewed as something that, you can just click and start. But there's significant amount of investment in developers and infrastructure just to do this, and trying to push it along those lines, but maintain a proper business model to make it a viable business. Things like putting up things up on the cloud, making it a per use basis, but you need to balance that with making revenue for your company. So it's a challenge with the different types of software and the different ways they're used and things like that. So that's something we're constantly trying to explore. And also the market changes. Synopsys just announced a company-wide huge effort to put things that things are up on the cloud. So chip design on the cloud. It's a whole huge effort within Synopsys, and they're investing significantly in that. So who knows? Maybe it's something we might be able to leverage as well. But that's the direction things are going, and we want to try and offer what the market wants, but also is at the same time balancing being a viable business unit within Synopsys.
So globally, which are the countries that you're very strong in terms of strongholds, actually, Doctor?
So currently the US is our biggest market for sure, then Europe, and then actually Japan is very, very good for us. We have a very strong partner channel in Japan that's doing really well. So definitely, North America, Europe, then Japan, and then Asia, China, India, these areas. And then beyond that, it's just kind of sporadic as well, depending on kind of our partner channels and things like that.
Yeah. So now we talked about the medical side, but what about the other sectors? Are you also gaining a good traction in all the other sectors? Which are the other sectors, if I may ask you, is where your presence has been felt?
Yeah, so the other areas for us that are definitely markets for us is industrial CT scanning, QA quality analysis, things like that, of parts, and also materials modeling and simulation. So the industrial side, reverse engineering, things like that from CT scans. Again, the value that we bring is automation. So this is where, say, things like turbine blades, fan blades, heat shields, things like that from an aerospace company, where they're using casting and traditional methods to make it. And it's a very important part. So they have to do 100% CT scanning inspection. And we can automate that. make it single click because the scale is there and the data is there to train it and build these algorithms to fully automate that. So that's definitely an area where we can deploy these solutions. And then also on the material side is more micro CT based material science. That's mostly in R&D labs within most major industrial companies have these R&D labs doing materials analysis, material science, materials characterization, things like that, and using image-based approaches. And so we're very good at bringing that into the simulation space. So though that industrial and materials area, that's smaller than our life sciences focus, but it's definitely there and an important customer base for us. It's a bit more niche for sure, but it's definitely there.
So when you talk about materials, now we are talking about nanomaterials, nanoparticles, and then you also go to an extent of a huge setup in terms of using DED for huge manufacturing when it comes to direct energy deposition. So you're talking about building huge propellers of ships. Likewise, in terms of scale and size, rocket.
Yeah.
So the software is able to cater both the sides of the version in terms of the microns to that what is expected.
Well, it just depends on the imaging technology. So if a part can fit within a CT scanner, I mean, they're very large. I mean, some are as big as a room, and you can fit very large with huge emitters and detectors. There's limitations in data size and resolution, things like that. But essentially, it's the same workflow. Again, we're focused on image to model. And where that image comes from doesn't matter what kind of model. It can be for, again, patient-specific design, 3D printing, analysis, simulation, metrology. So for us, it's the image to model, and that's what we're very good at, and that's what we're very focused on, and that's what we build our technology around. So some of these applications are definitely outside that realm. The additive manufacturing, people are doing in R&D a lot of CT scanning of parts and need to get that into simulation. We're doing that as well. But definitely our major focus is definitely the life sciences, and these other ones as well are a little more niche.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kerim, for your time, and it was very interesting talking to you. As usual, we've always had an opportunity earlier also to talk to you, and I'm sure with the efforts being made by the organization and you in the epitome in terms of wanting to scale the business and also connecting, and since your role is also in terms of partnership globally, we look forward to meeting you in India very soon. Though these platforms are interestingly poised in terms of connecting with respondents. And wishing you all the very best, Dr. Kerim, and see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Take care. Thank you so much for your time.